What is going on, Jet fans? Matt O'Leary back with another video. In today's video, I want to take a look at a former Jets coach in the mix for the Jets job. And no, it's not Rex Ryan, but Eric Mangini. So this all stems from Diana Rossini's article where she mentioned Eric Mangini by name. Eric Mangini was on with Colin Cowherd and addressed the subject. Here's what he had to say.
So your name came up for the Jets opening. First of all, have a comment on that. Diana Rossini came out with it. Will you acknowledge it? I haven't talked to you about this yet. What do you make of the report?
Well, it would make sense, Colin, because I just sold my house in New Jersey. So that's typically how the NFL works is once you sell property, then you get an opportunity. You know, once you buy property, then you get fired. I think it was just part of an article. I obviously am not lobbying for the job, but I feel pretty good about what I did while I was there. I mean, we just had 3 of those guys that I coached go into the Jets Ring of Honor, and I think we were a smart, disciplined, tough team. I didn't realize they were getting the band back together, bringing Tannenbaum in. But it's, it's like any other situation. There's a lot of things that you can do with an organization from a vision and principle standpoint.
A very different approach from Rex Ryan. The quote that stands out to me: I am obviously not lobbying for the job, but I feel like it did a pretty good job while I was there. He made the playoffs in his first year in 2006 when no one was expecting them to. They won 10 games. The following year, his quarterback got hurt and they went 4-12. They had a horrible record, but they were competitive in every single game. If you go back and look at some of the scores, it wasn't like they were getting blown out every week. They're probably the most competitive 4-win Jets team that I've ever seen. And then they were 8-3 in 2008, and Brett Favre got hurt and told no one, and then they finished 9-7, missed the playoffs, and Mangini gets canned. Now, is this me advocating for Eric Mangini to be the Jets head coach? No, I don't think I want him to be the Jets coach. I'm not sure that's the right approach here. But I absolutely think he is someone who can be a decision maker in an NFL franchise, especially with the roster. And I'm shocked that he hasn't gotten a job in a front office since leaving the Jets or since leaving Cleveland. Eric Mangini and Mike Tannenbaum teamed up for 3 drafts. And in all 3 drafts, the Jets laid the foundation for the success that they had in the late 2000s and early 2010s. In that 2006 draft, they came away with DeBrickashaw Ferguson, Nick Mangold, Eric Smith, Brad Smith, Leon Washington, and Drew Coleman. 2 high-end starters and a couple of role players in there. Well, not more than a couple, a handful of role players there. DeBrickashaw Ferguson, plus starter at one of the most important positions in football, left tackle. Nick Mangold, one of the best centers, if not the best center of his generation, was phenomenal for a decade. Same with DeBrickashaw. They both were great for a decade. Again, Eric Smith, Brad Smith, Leon Washington, Drew Coleman, all kind of role players for those 2006, 8, 9, 10 teams in that range. That's a great draft. That's up there with the 2022 draft. Yes, that one's maybe a little bit more flashy because of the high-end talent, but the Jets got significantly more depth in this draft class. So, honestly, 2000 and 2006 are probably my 2 favorite Jets draft classes, even over 2022. But then in 2007, only a 4-person draft, so how good could it really be? Well, they came away with a Hall of Famer in the first round in Darrelle Revis, a 10-year starter at linebacker in David Harris, and Chancey Stuckey, who was a 7th-round pick, was then included in a trade that netted them Braylon Edwards just a couple of years later. So the cold is officially here, and guess what? I'm living in the perfect gene. These bad boys are super stretchy, soft, and totally trick people into thinking that I've got my life together. And I'm telling you this because I actually do really like them. They are my favorite jeans in my jean rotation. I can honestly say they are freaking awesome. 400,000's the number. That's how many men have rescued their nuts from stiff, unforgiving jeans. And all that's thanks to the Perfect Gene. These jeans have enough stretch to accommodate Thanksgiving dinner, which is coming up in just a few days, and comfy enough to wear all day while watching Sunday football. Plus, even though they feel like sweatpants, they look good enough to be your go-to pants for date night. The Perfect Gene has the perfect fit for everybody, and we mean everybody. They've got 6 different fits, waist sizes running from 26 to 50, and lengths to from 26 to 38, which means there are over 5,000 possible combinations of pants for you to choose from. So if you're a short king or you're actually 6'5", like me, I'm 6'4", but if I stand up straight, I'm probably closer to 6'5". If you love a looser fit or are still in your skinny jean era, that's all fine. The Perfect Gene has the perfect option for you. And for a limited time, our listeners get 15% off their first order, plus free shipping at theperfectgene.nyc. Use code O'Leary15 for 15% off. Talk about bang for your buck. They completely reshaped their defense with those 2 guys. Darrelle Revis and David Harris were integral young pieces to those 07, 08, 9, 10 Jet teams that were so good. In 2008, they had their most obvious miss. Vernon Gholston, 6th overall, did absolutely nothing in the NFL. But they were able to salvage it by some of their other picks. They take Dustin Keller, 30th, who was a good starter for them at tight end and one of Mark Sanchez's favorite targets, had a bunch of touchdowns for this Jets team. Dwight Lowery was a good role player. And then they got a great special teamer in Marcus Henry. Yeah, it wasn't like anything at wide receiver ever. But how many times do you remember, if you're around in that era of Jets football, how many times do you remember, on a punt, Marcus Henry coming up with the tackle? So missing 6th though on a top 10 pick usually is enough to derail a draft class. And while, it certainly hinders it a ton, you got a good starter at tight end. You got a very good role player in Dwight Lowery came up with how many big plays for you on good teams, and then got a special teamer. They did okay. They actually did okay. Unfortunately, I just don't think this one is really all that likely because I think Woody Johnson really scapegoated him in 2008. I mean, if you look at the numbers for Brett Favre over the final 5 games where the Jets went 1-4 over that stretch, he threw 2 touchdowns and had a boatload of interceptions. They really got bailed out against Buffalo at home. They probably should have lost 5 straight games after starting 8-3. But he gets significantly injured and tries to play through it and was, again, horrendous. And Favre leaves. He has success in 2009 with Minnesota. They go to the NFC Championship game. But Eric Mangini's the only one who gets the axe. You keep Mike Tannenbaum. They bring in Rex. We all know in 2009 and 2010, they were very, very successful. And I'm very, very happy to have those 2 years. And I think, Rex played a big part in those 2 years. Yes, he didn't build those rosters, but he got a lot out of those teams, and his identity was perfect for those teams. But I think 2 things should be true at the same time. Yes, the Jets needed Rex Ryan to get the most out of them in 09 and 10, but they don't get there without what Mangini built, and Mangini did get a raw deal. All true. Every part of that is 100% true. So I don't think he'll ever forgive Woody Johnson for that. Maybe he's a bigger man than I am. I would like this. I would rather, if we're talking, hey, you could sign up for either Eric Mangini in some sort of front office role or Rex Ryan being head coach, give me Eric Mangini in some sort of decision-making role. I'd rather that than go the Rex route, honestly. But let me know what you think. If it's likely, if it's not, whatever. Sound off in the comments. I'm Matt O'Leary. Subscribe if you're new. I'll catch you next time.